Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and welcome to Wild Hearts. With the new release, there's going to be a lot of new hunters heading out and experiencing things for the first time. But thanks to the early access I had before the release of the game, I've actually already put a lot of hours into the game and completed the main story. And I've learned a lot through that process. With that, there is a lot of things I wish I knew going in back on my first day that probably would have made my experience a lot smoother, that is for sure. I kept note of these important things as I learned them, and now I'm finally putting them into one video to give you sort of a head start in your own playthrough. So my name is Hollow, this is my beginner's guide to Wild Hearts, and these are the things I wish I knew as a new player. The very first thing that I wanted to know was how to get my preferred weapons, the claw blades, because for some reason in Wild Hearts, they do not give you all of the weapons at once. You can place a forge down at any camp, or you can come to the village and have a weapon forged, and this is how you get access to the different weapons. As you'll know, you'll start with the katana, but to get a different weapon, you'll actually need to try to craft a new one, and that's when you have the list of the different weapons, and you can go from there. It only costs 1 core stone and 100 gold per weapon to craft the base level beginner type, so it's not exactly going to be a problem to begin with. But really annoyingly, the hand cannon, the claw blade, and the Karakuri staff are not available at the beginning of the game. My main question then is, in the case of claw blade, when can I unlock these 3 weapons? The answer is at the beginning section of Act 2. Having completed the game, I can change between chapters. So if you see at the bottom left of the map here, we can see this is currently chapter 1, but I can just swap to 2 and beyond easily. It is not until you see chapter 2 at the bottom left of your screen, after some pretty important story events, that you will then be able to forge those 3 weapons. On that note, I also want to talk about armor skills. The first set that you begin wearing has 1 armor and 0 on the resistances. It's pretty damn important then that you upgrade as soon as possible. You see, the very next set has 7 armor, which is a lot more, and also a little bit of the skills you find on, say, the gloves and the boots. You can press triangle or Y on a controller to have a look at what that skill actually does. For a new playthrough, I would recommend you pick up armor that has health boost to increase your maximum health, sidestepper, which will actually increase your distance on dodges, savage, which is basically the most important while you're going through a playthrough skill you can get on armor because it literally increases your attack, recovery boost, which will improve the amount of health we actually recover, and core boost, which will increase your maximum stamina, which can be really important for certain weapons. My next tip is to strongly advise you to go to a training dummy. There's going to be one outside the first camp that you find in the first region, but as soon as you make it to the village, you can come down here to the southeastern point, and there's just one set up right here. By interacting with it, you have these options. What you want to do is you want to turn on attack tutorials and hit start. From here, it will have you go through a selection of combos and give you some basic information about your weapon and how it works. This is the absolute bare minimum to understand your weapon and start using it properly. The problem with this tutorial though is it does not tell you everything about your weapon. In fact, it completely leaves out some really important details. And in my experience, that is the case for all of the weapons. Not to mention the finer details like combos, combo skipping, you know, and how to make best use of everything. For that, I would really recommend in-depth detailed guides, which we have on the channel right now for the weapons as we release more content. Next, my last tip to do with the hub and the people in it is that there are actually unique individuals you can interact with. Of course, there's a vendor and a shop and so on, but as you play through your game, you need to know about some of the benefits, such as the Fishermans Guild, which can be found by talking to this guy. He's found here on the western side of the wharf. Nobumitsu here can have you do jobs for him and the Fishermans Guild, and as you can see, there are specific tasks that you can choose. You can choose up to 5 at any one time, and the reward by completing multiple of these, as you can see at the bottom right, is different resources. This is actually my second progression though. If you manage to complete enough of the tasks and get the full thing filled out, not only are the rewards well worth it, but you'll get another selection, another level of fisherman jobs, with better rewards and often really easy to complete tasks. Not knowing about this is a major misplay. You should have at least 5 of these active at all times and generally be working on them passively, especially when the rewards will help you upgrade your weapons and armor as you go. You'll also find these scrolls, which are basically above an NPC's head, especially when you're in the hub. By talking to them and picking up the side quest, you can go do this quest once and get the rewards. As you can see, the rewards for this early game side quest are actually gold dust, which I can sell for money, and an ivory king tusk, which is an important part of that kimono. Again, further helping me upgrade my gear faster. Now we move on to the open world and some really important tips as we get into different regions. Here I am in the 4th region, a sort of icy biome, but that's not too important. What is important is that I'm set up in my camp. As you can see, I've got different things set up, like a forge, so I can upgrade my armor and weapons when wanted, but most importantly, I can change my equipment, which will allow me to swap weapons should I want to, but also change my basic Karakuri, or Talismans, as I find new ones in the open world, which we'll talk about in a second. This is actually really important and very useful, but by placing it, it costs me some resources, and there's a limited supply and amount that I can actually do with this building. As you can see, currently, I have a bit of fire to spend, a bit more water to spend, and basically nothing of the other 3. Each structure that I place requires a certain amount of those resources, and the most important thing you can possibly place is a tent, because tents give you a fast travel point, and it's where you'll respawn if you do cart. Setting up a tent in a useful location in each region is vitally important then. For example, you start down here at the bottom left of this region and have no other tents to work with. So I know that I want to place another tent on the very opposite side, as far away from that as possible, so I have a fast and easy place to go to and get around the map. At first, you'll probably only be able to place 2 tents, and one of them will require a special point. Himisama's hideout here is actually a unique dev-created camp setup. It's this room in the middle of the map, and it's very intentionally placed here by the devs as a good idea for a camping place. So much so that if you were to find this naturally, it would actually cost you almost nothing to place the tent. 5 Earth to place a tent is insane when they normally cost about 40. To find where these hidden locations are, what you need to do is just place a tower, and that will reveal things on the map, shown by these circles. Not only will it reveal Kimono, but as you upgrade it, the size will actually be increased, and it'll even show you where secrets are to go pick up. This will also reveal where the dedicated dev camp is on the map. It'll help you find it so you can get a cheap camp going, probably somewhere really useful like the middle of the map. Now before long, one of the most important dragon Karakuri you will unlock is of course the flying vine. This is for traversal of the map. It's an incredible tool. I am now on top of the building in the middle of the map, and what I've got here is a vine set up that will take me across to that roof. Then from that roof, it'll take me all the way up there and all the way to the top. That is a battle arena that's very important and really annoying to go traverse from bottom to top. It's quite the walk, but instead of having to walk there, especially from my tent and immediately get there, I can just fly over this vine, follow the next one along, and finally use the third one to get all the way to the top from the middle of the map to the top of the map at the highest point within seconds. Not only does that save me a lot of time, but it makes traversal around the whole area so much easier. To place them though, you will need some resources as I showed earlier, and to get those going, you just need to find the dragon pits around the map, activating them using very simple resources. As you can see, we can also upgrade them 5 times. Depending on which dragon pit you're upgrading, you'll get an increase to different resources. This will give me 20 wind and just 4 earth, for example. And we can further upgrade it should we have the resources necessary. To get the basic resources for basic upgrading, or at least getting these going though, you're going to need to find these specific things. These right here are in every map and have the crystals and resources you need to actually upgrade the dragon pits. So if you ever see one of these piles of bones and you see all the butterfly coming out of it, immediately go pick this up. Once you've seen one of the dragon pits, it will show as an unfilled dragon pit on your map, and you just have to go interact it, spend those resources to get it going. Each map has a bunch of them, as you can see, and once they're all active, you'll be able to build a lot more. For example, I have a lot of dragon vines around. As further example, from the middle of the map, we have one over there to get to the southeastern point, or another one here to go straight south, or another one there to head west. It's an incredibly useful thing to have set up in the center of each region. Lastly, for your dragon Karakuri though, you definitely want to be placing some of these useful things. For example, this gives me ore. Every time I go do a hunt, it progresses and gives me more, which is really important because that's used for upgrading my gear. That is known as the Tsukumuro ore shrine, found here in the upgrade tree. So you'll have to progress the game by defeating Kimono and progressing the story, and then using your resources you get by defeating Kimono to then get these upgrades, these dragon Karakuri. Through this, you can also improve the food that you're eating, and that's a really important topic that we should talk about next. As long as you're not in combat, you can press left on the D-pad if you're using a controller to pull up the Eat menu. And this is the resources that you've picked up and found in each region. Depending on what region you're actually in, you will get different vegetables, different meats, different resources, and these are things you can eat. And they give you buffs for the entire hunt that you're out there, which is really important. You can press triangle or Y on a controller to have a look at what that actually gives you, but as you can see, we can get extra health and increase the speed of stowing our weapon with the gold caps. But these are unrefined and uncut cooked versions of a gold cap, we can actually make this a lot better. That is where the Dragon Karakuri come in again for setting up your camp. So we have the drying rack here, there's the smoker or the pickling jar, providing different benefits to food based on what you need. And it's definitely not overly complicated. The first thing you'll get is the drying rack, at which point you can place it down and go interact with it, choosing what you want to put on the rack. The more that I put in, the more powerful it will actually be, and also the amount that I'm going to get back, obviously. When we put enough of something in, we can just hit start, and then that will begin processing. I can come back here after a hunt and see how much it's progressed. We can see how different food processing will actually affect different food. For example, with the smoker, we can add critical master to plenty of these different foods, which is very nice, boosting the chance of unleashing a critical hit. Even something as simple as taking some meat and drying it on the drying rack can be incredible. Plus 13 health boost and plus 10% critical master is insane. And all we did there is go hunt a small kimono that has a bit of meat on it and then dry it over one hunt and come pick it up. The sooner you start doing this, the sooner you're going to have incredible food buffs for all of your hunts, making the whole thing so much easier. Moving on, it's time for us to talk about Kimono Weaknesses and how important this actually is to be aware of. When we look at the basic Rage Tail, the very first kimono that you fight, you can see that it has very simple softness. 5 stars on the head and 4 on the rest. This is a really easy kimono to deal with because it really doesn't matter where you hit, you're going to do great damage. Whereas take the lava back, things are very different here. The head and the body are basically the only places you can hit to actually deal valuable damage. Now, of course, you should always attack anything where you're dealing damage technically, but ideally you should be attacking the weak point because it's going to lead to a kill, staggers, and control of the fight so much better. As soon as you encounter and deal with any kimono once, you will be able to look at this page and have a look and learn what their weaknesses are. But it's very important to know that when they enrage, those weaknesses change. So the kimono has changed visually, but also mechanically. The arms have gone from a 2-star to a 3-star and now are breakable in a really important way, because if we go to the third page, we can actually see what's available from defeating a lava back and which parts should we target. This is really important because when we aren't looking at an enraged lava back, we cannot actually consistently get those fire rocks. But when it enrages, suddenly the fire rock is a consistent target. When the enrage occurs, there's these sort of fiery stumps that are coming out of the side of the arms of Lavaback. And if you target Lavaback's arms while he is enraged, you can break those and guarantee you can get Fire Rock. In this case, that's a really important resource because it's used in so many armor pieces and a lot of weapon upgrading as well. It can be a nightmare to get Fire Rock if you don't know that you should target the arms when it's enraged. So checking your notes on the different creatures and what is their weak point and what actually causes them to drop what you need can make a world of difference when it comes to actually upgrading your gear. Next, I need to talk to you about Hunter's Arm, a really important skill that we all have no matter what weapon you're using and will make a world of difference in your gameplay. While Hunter's Arm is shown to you through the basic progression of the story, a lot of people don't seem to understand it, including multiple of my friends who played the game and haven't been making use of it. As we can see with this kimono, there's a glowing orb on the side of its leg. Let's knock it down and get it a nice view. So there is the glowing side of the kimono. I've done some damage to it, right? But I can't Hunter's Arm it. That's because I haven't done enough damage to it. First, you must break that part to reveal the thread inside. Now I've dealt enough damage, I can go up and interact with that piece to Hunter's Arm. That will double the amount of thread that I've got and overcap me as well, which is incredible because now I can blindly spam my Karakuri and even my transformed Karakuri for free damage and great CC. Next, we have a brief word then on those talismans, which we can access by changing our equipment at any anvil, including the one in the hub. It is the slot under your weapon slot, which has 5 slots total. You can equip up to 5 talisman at once, so don't be like me and Josh and Cotton, who we all had just 1 talisman equipped for the first half of our playthrough for no reason. These talismans provide passive benefits, those skills that you have to work hard to get on your armor, your weapons, or otherwise. In the case of this attack talisman, it has both Final Blow and Fire Boost. I am using a fire-based weapon, so that's making my fire damage better, and it means I deal more damage when a kimono's toppled. These are some insanely important skills. Even the basic ones that you find at the very beginning of the game can be great. Stamina recovery speed, extra thread, That's always useful. Later in the game, you'll even find these bigger, more effective with unique skill talisman, such as Sleight of Hand Fury, which boosts my attack for a while after conjuring any Karakuri, which is basically all the time. So do not sleep on talisman, and find them in the world by finding the relics hidden in different areas in each region. We can also get them from side quests and progressing the main story. They're well worth paying attention to. Next, it's time for us to talk about the Tsukumuro, our little robotic ball companion, which is an incredibly useful thing, especially when you upgrade it, which doesn't just upgrade the power of the Tsukumuro, but it also increases the thread count that you have. As you can see, I have a maximum of 21 at the moment before I even use a hunter's arm, whereas you'll start with something like 10, and that is significantly less. To upgrade your Tsukumuro, all you need to do is place the Dragon Karakuri, the campfire, which you have at the very beginning of the game, which only costs 10 fire, and then warm yourself at that fire, allowing you to do different things like play online, but also enhance your Tsukumuro. Here we can choose between the attack form, defense form, assist form, and threader form, and you can see at the bottom right, any one that I choose to upgrade is going to improve my total thread count. So even if I don't care about this companion at all, it's really important that I upgrade it because it will increase how much thread I can have at one time. Improving its attack will improve its raw attack, which is obviously good. The same and obvious for defense, improving its defense. Whereas the assist form is very interesting. It will actually start placing heals on the ground, and you can make those more effective, and speed up how fast it actually recovers from being knocked out. Whereas threader form has it start dropping thread on the ground during a fight, and let me tell you, that is incredibly useful. So I would recommend you at least have one level of assist form and one level of threader form to begin with, and then focus on upgrading it all in relative equal level, trying to min-max the amount of old cogs you have to spend to upgrade each time so you have more threads. But as soon as I upgrade it, my thread count will be increased, and that is an incredibly useful thing. To find old cogs to upgrade your Tsukumuro then, you simply need to find them out in the world in each region. As you can see, I've just found one, bump into it and then interact with it, and I befriend it, and now I've gained one more old cog. So every single one that you pick up, you'll get another cog to upgrade with. As you saw there also, it was 16 out of 50 for me in this region. That's because in the different regions, there are 50 of them to find in specific places. So explore, befriend them, get your old cogs and upgrade them. The sooner you begin doing that and get those first few upgrades, the sooner your companion is going to make a real difference in the gameplay. Our last topic for this video then is to do with the small kimono, which are actually very important resources for your food, for upgrading your armor and your weapons as well. You really shouldn't be ignoring them. For example, this turtle guy, we can interact with him in two ways. We can kill him and carve him, or we can crouch and just walk up to him. And then, by holding left trigger, I can pet him. This will cause him to drop a specific resource. In this case, it gave me coral shell, which can be sold for goods. Whereas if I go over and slay it, which feels a little bit sad to do honestly, I can get 2 sliced meat, which is one of the best resources for food. Meat, as I mentioned earlier, can be refined into incredibly powerful stuff. Just eating it raw is 6 health boost and 4% attack boost, whereas if we refine it, we can get up to 6% attack boost and 13 health boost by comparison. That's insane. In each region, you will find different small kimono that will give you different resources. So, for example, when I finish this one off, I get some Simian Yin Organ Gem. That's really important for certain weapon upgrades and armor upgrades, as you might expect, but there's a really important aspect to this you need to know about that it really just doesn't tell you about. That was a Simian in chapter 2, whereas if I go to chapter 3 and above, I will now get different rewards from the same Simian. Let me show you. So here he is again, the very same guy, but now we're in chapter 3 where he is technically a higher level Simian. So he's going to give me a completely different resource, a different type of organ gem. Again, also required for weapon and armor upgrading, but a higher level of that. So understanding that there is chapter 1 and 2, and then there is 3+, rewarding different rewards with your small kimono is very important. If you've played Monster Hunter before, you could imagine this to be a low rank Simian versus a high rank rewarding different things. But this is also the case for materials like this ore. I'm in chapter 3 right now, so this mining right now will give me a demon rock. But if I come here at chapter 2, it will give me a different rock. It will now give me a light stone. It's the exact same ore. I've picked it up in the same place, same color, everything, but the chapters were changed. So again, chapter 1 and 2, you can imagine as a low rank version of small kimono and your materials in that region. Whereas if you come here in chapter 3+, all of that will change to a higher rank version. If we have a look at our monkey friend in this case, then in the notes, we can see that in the lower chapters, we have the Simian Yin version of the Organ Gem, whereas we go into 3+, it turns into the Simian Yang Organ Gem. And I can check how these things drop and what chapters in the notebook here as well. But there you have it. Those are the things I think are most important for a beginner player to be aware of to hopefully save you from any trouble or headaches in your own playthrough. If there's anything else like this kind of tip that you think would help a new player, then you can drop it in the comments and maybe you'll help someone. But I do hope this video has helped you. If it has, then drop a like on it and maybe we'll make more content like this in the future as we learn more things. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thank you for watching, we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.